Session 2 is about Python object and data structure. This Python Basics module is prepared for students who will focus on studying data science, financial modeling, asset management, portfolio selection, or business analytics. Therefore, understanding data structures is important. As we mentioned earlier, in this Jupyter Notebook, the machine understands each cell differently based on the drop-down menu in the top panel. If it is the Markdown option, the machine will run Markdown format, basically to present the words as normal text for readers to read. If it is the Code option, then the machine will run the text inside the cell based on Python syntax. You can also write texts inside a Python code by using the hash key, so the machine will ignore the words after the hash. This will help you to remember what the purpose of the line of codes, and easier for you to share your code with other users. When the Python script becomes long and messy, use hash to explain them clearly is important. On the screen right now, we wrote 4 main structures of data. L is a list, since we assign its values in a square bracket, and each value is separated by a comma. Also, if the value is a text or string, we use single quotation marks. If we use parentheses or round brackets, then the data is a tuple. If we use curly brackets or braces, then the data is a set. If we use curly brackets but separated the values by colon, then the data is a dictionary. We can use Python internal function type to check the types of the data as shown on the screen. By the way, if you are using your own machine to run these cells, you should click the Run button on the top panel and run the cell from top to bottom one by one. You can pause the video at any time and write these codes in your own machine and click the Run button while watching our videos. After we assigned values into different data types, the structure of data will follow the types and different rules to operate the data. For example, if we type L in the cell, since it is a list when we created it in the beginning of the notebook, so it shows the values as a list. If we want to get some specific elements in this list based on the positions, we can use square bracket to index the element's position. But remember, similar to other traditional computer programming language such as C or C++, the position in Python also starts with 0. In this case on the screen, we want the elements from the position 2 as indexed by the number 1 to the position of 3. Although we write the number 3 in the bracket, Python will recognize the index as 3 minus 1 that is equal to 2. More often, there are many elements in the list. We cannot count the specific position. We can use shortcuts. We will explain many different situations in the future videos. Here we just show one example. If we type L square bracket and put 2 colons and follow by a -1, then the whole list is reversed. But remember, this operation did not change the object L. It just shows the object in different order. Now look at the tuple data T. We use same way to index the elements inside the tuple. The only difference is that values inside the tuple cannot be changed after we created the tuple. So compared to the list L, it is more safe to save data as a tuple in the database, so users cannot modify the values. However, it is not as flexible or convenient to the users if they want to update the data. Move to the set S. When you type S in the cell and run the cell, you see the values in the set. Can you see the difference between a set and a list or a tuple? You may pause the video to check carefully. The differences are: first, the order of elements is not relevant in the set. As you can see, it reorders the elements based on number values and text format. Second, there is no duplicate values in the set. There were 2 number values 65.5 when we create the set, but now only 1 is saved in the set. Therefore, as shown in the cell below and its error message highlighted in red, we cannot index elements in a set. Please note, when running these cells, if it shows a red highlighted text, sometimes it shows the error message, so the users need check carefully and modify the code accordingly. But sometimes it shows the warning message, which means your code is correct. But the way of writing this code can be improved, or the latest version of Python has different ways of writing the code. Students often feel stressful when see these red boxes, but no worries at all. You just need to be patient and check the code carefully based on the error or warning messages. More often, students learn more from these messages and improve their coding skills step by step. We cannot index the elements in a set, so how to get the values in the set? There are different ways to achieve that. You may convert a set into a list or a tuple, then use the indexing of list or tuple to get the values. Or you can use for loops. We will explain it in future videos. At this stage, we can check values in the set by typing the value, for example here John, then type in, so we check whether John is in the set. Also, compared to a dictionary D below, elements in the dictionary cannot be indexed, but the error message is different. If it is a set, the error message is type error, but if it is a dictionary, it is a key error. This means that we can still get a specific element or value inside the dictionary, but we use a different way to get it. Instead of using indexing, we use keys to get values in a dictionary. If we used a wrong key, then we have key error message. So how to use keys correctly? We check the dictionary D carefully again, for example, the name and John in the first two elements of the dictionary. The first part name is before the colon, and the second part, John, is after the colon, but before the comma and age. So the machine will know the name is the key and John is the value. Therefore, we can use the key to call the value. As in the next cell, we type D square bracket and name with a quotation mark, so the machine gives us the value John. If we want to copy an object, there are a few ways to do that. One simple way is to use equal sign. In this case, L is assigned to L2, so L2 has the same elements and values as L. However, if we update the elements in the L2, the original list L will be also changed. Look at the second element in list L. It becomes Jenny automatically after we change the value in L2. This is because the computer did not create a new list in the system when we assign the L2. However, if we assign a part of L to L3, then if we change elements in L3, the original L does not change. Students often feel surprised. Also, this process will not show any error message, so it will be easy to make mistake. If you copy a new list, then you change the elements inside of this new list, the previous or original list is also changed, so be careful. There are reasons for this situation. You may Google it and find it in more detail. Simply speaking, this is due to the setting when computer scientists to develop the system and programming language long time ago. At that time, the internal space in normal computer is small, so if you copy one long list to create another same long list, the computer will not save the same two lists separately and waste space. Instead, the machine will check whether the new list is exactly the same list as the copied one. In our case, L2 is exactly the same as L, so the computer will assume both L2 and L refer to the same data in the system, so they share the same location in the machine. It likes two keys for one box where stores the same goods. So if you use one key to open the box and change the goods, the people with other key will also be affected. But if the machine checked and knows the new list is different from the original list, in our case L3, then it will create a space or our box to store the data for L3. Therefore, if we use the key of L3 to open and change the goods in L3 box, the original L box will not be affected. So how to change a list that is exactly same as the original list? We do not use equal sign to assign the whole list. We should use the internal function of python.copy and a bracket. Here on the screen, we have name error message in highlighted red box. No worries, this is because we did not run the cells from top to the bottom, so L is not created in the system. We should run all cells step by step, so the system stores all newly created values and variables. Let's go back to the top and do it now. Now, you can see we copied the whole list L to the new list L3. Both of them are exactly the same list. But the machine knows we want to store them separately in the system by using the .copy bracket function, so they are two different boxes in the computer system. Now, if change the elements or values in the new list L3, it will not affect the original box or list L. As you can see, the second element in L3 is changed to Bob, but the second element in original list L is still Jenny. By the way, there are many different ways to create a cell as shown on the screen. However, sometimes the new cell does not show clearly in the notebook. This problem is not common in the early days, but recently I have seen more and more similar situations. This may be due to issues in Jupyter Notebook software development, so check your notebook carefully, particularly if your laptop is old and slow. That's all for this session. See you in next session.